Hi there, it's me again, Kurt Meyer. I'm here to go over a game with you that you may not have looked at yet. That's kind of what I like to do, kind of make people aware of either games that may not be all that aware of, or games that I particularly really like and just want to wax on about for a few minutes, give or take. I apologize for my very bad hair day. As you can see, my hair is not cooperating with me this morning. So just bear with me, and feel free to laugh and guffaw uncontrollably as you wish at my hairdo. Okay, so this morning we're going to take a look at Sword and Sandals by J.M. Strutter. Um, I really like this book. I'm pretty excited about this book and this line of mini games that he has, because these mini games are essentially self-contained and they are fairly inexpensive. I believe through Lulu this is about $7, and he manages to J.M. John Stoddard manages to pack a lot into this less than 50 pages. I mean, this really is a very playable game. You may or may not be familiar with John Statter from the blog, from his Land of Nod blog, which is his setting. Started out as a setting for sword and wizardry, and then he ported it over to his own Blood and Treasure, which is his own OSR retro clone. It's a very usable, very approachable retro clone if you're in the market for a retro clone. I actually prefer Fantastic Heroes of Swords and Witchery, which I may get to in another video, just depending on what happens, what comes up. But I'm very impressed with this mini game. One of the things that I like about it is it runs on a mechanic that is extremely similar to that of Melee and Wizard from Steve Jackson, the fantasy trip system that Steve Jackson did around 1980, 79, 80. Basically, you have an attribute score in any given attribute that's rated from, and these have this has essentially the the standard D&D type attributes. So he has them. John Statter has them in this book Latinized, because the implied setting, it doesn't really give you a lot of setting information because you really don't need it. But the implied setting here is Greco-Roman, Bronze Age. I am a really big fan of Bronze Age, so so his attribute names are Latinized to, I guess, to give him some Roman flavor, I suppose. But just to give you examples, so there's a portenta, which is physical power and strength; agilitas, vitalitas, cognito, right, or intelligence, right? Reverentia, which is, I guess, would be a measure of one's relationship to the divine, that sort of thing. Viritus measures a character's mental toughness or willpower, or I suppose wisdom. And perceptio. See, I'm terrible at this Latinate stuff. Measures a character's overall situational awareness. Decus measures how well a character can manipulate others, and then there is a catch-all attribute, luck. And basically, what you do It's really simple. You can create a character here for this in a minute and a half probably. You roll 1d6 per each attribute, and that's the attribute score. And then you have, beginning each game, you've got a luck attribute beginning at 6. And then you're going to choose a class, and I think this is kind of another area where this excels, but the classes are Amazon, Barbarian, Centurion, Klepta or Thief, Druid, Equitus or essentially Cavalier, Gladiator, Magus, Sali or Roman Priest of Mars, Satyr is your only non-human choice, and then a Sibyl, and then a Traitor. So you're going to pick one of those classes, and what the classes do is they tell you which skills are going to be quote unquote primary, which ones are secondary, and then it'll tell you to choose 3 tertiary skills. And all that really means is when you're rolling up your skills, when you're rolling up your primary skills, you're going to roll 3 dice and you're going to take the highest value. That's your skill rank in that skill. Your secondary skills, you're going to roll 2 dice and take the highest value. That's your rank in that particular skill. And then for your tertiary skills, you're just going to roll a single die and take that as your skill rank. Again, extremely quick and simple. So the way that the system works, and I really like this, is if you're going to do an action, okay, it's a roll under system, okay, but the way that your range is determined for your roll under is you roll your attribute die, or you take your attribute value, say you've got a 5 in Agilitas, right? So you take your attribute value of 5, and then you take your particular skill that you're using, say it's a melee skill, maybe you've got a 4 in your melee, so that means you've got a range of 9, and you've got to roll under that 9, typically on 3 dice. What you can also do is if you say, that doesn't sound like I'm going to have a very good chance of success, you can add your luck value to that roll as well as any situational modifiers, okay? Not to that roll, but to that range, okay? As well as any situational modifiers to increase your range. What I like about this is every time you use your luck value goes down 1, okay? So if you've used your luck, and regardless of your success, so if you've used your luck, once, your luck value will go down to 5 for the next time you use it in a roll, and so on and so forth. It mirrors kind of the seat of your pants, action, and maybe some, and it'd be very easy to role play, whether or not fate is on one side and that sort of thing. So the sort of shining thing in here to me is the magic system. And yes, there is a magic system, a complete magic system in a book this size. Okay, the magic system in here I think is just great, because my big complaint with OSR games, essentially, and it's not so much a complaint. I mean, an OSR game is an OSR game, right? I mean, you're gonna have your voluminous numbers of spells. That's just the way games were in the 70s and 80s. That's this and 90s, right? So it's not that it's a complaint. It's just my personal preference. I don't have a whole lot of time to search through massive numbers of spells and so forth. When I'm creating characters, when I'm running games, and so on, and if I'm trying to introduce new people to RPGs, they're not going to necessarily be comfortable with reading 30 pages of spells or something like that. So what I like about this is that in essence, let me get to the correct page. That would help, wouldn't it? Yeah. And magic and prayer essentially work the same way. They call magic a cult in this, okay? But basically, to cast a spell, they use the skill dynamic that I explained to create the range, to determine the range that the caster has. For passive spells, such as knowledge and detection, you're going to try to roll under on 2 dice. For active spells like moving objects, summoning, and so on and so forth, you're going to roll under on 3 dice. And for hostile spells that would cause damage, and so on and so forth, you're going to roll under on 4 dice. That's really elegant to me. To me, it allows for a lot of narrative possibility, allows for a lot of creativity on the part of the player. Again, very, very simple and very usable. Also in this book, you're going to find, believe it or not, ship rules. Everybody's kind of heard my spiel on that from my first review. If you watched the Tunnels and Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls review, you're going to find mass combat rules in here. And again, he actually recommends using, on a number of occasions on the blog, he recommends using like little plastic army men. So again, very practical, low budget type of thing. You're going to find actually a bestiary in here. You're going to find in the beasts in here make sense as per the genre, right? So you're going to find your classical Greek creatures and so on and so forth in here. What little setting material is provided in here is a little bit odd. It's got a small little map of kind of the Roman era Europe, and then it's got different cities. It's got a list of different cities, and he's got their populations and their tax. How much tax is collected there. Okay, that's good. That's fine. It doesn't do much for me. My big, if there is a big gripe about this game, and again, I'm not expecting a whole lot. The game is, let's see, 37 pages of content, right? So I'm not expecting a whole lot out of 37 pages. I'm kind of marvel at what John Stoddard has done in 37 pages. But if I were to critique this, I critique it in 2 areas. One, there's no mechanism for playing demigods, right? So there's not a kind of a this is how you play Hercules, or or a Hercules-like character, etc., etc. Not that you necessarily need that. A game master can come up with that. Maybe take your highest attribute and double it, and that's your godlike attribute, or something like that. It's not that big a deal. I would have liked to have seen an example of play in here. This is my other kind of critique, because some of the writing, particularly on task resolution, is not necessarily as clear as it probably could be. My thought on that is a Black Hack, which is 20 pages, can have a 1-page example of play. This can have a 1-page example of play. Again, that's my critique of this. I recommend it if you, like me, are I grew up in the Dallas area, and on Sundays they would always play the UHF channel. They would always play Harryhausen movies and Steve Reeve movies and so on and so forth. So I kind of grew up on a diet of Bronze Age stuff. And this is Bronze Age. Pardon me. Um, Unedited video, you gotta love it. So, Bronze Age, Iron Age type of stuff. Um, if you're like me and you grew up with that and you want something that's really easy to pick up, and I have played this. It's fun. I didn't play it straight rules. One of the things that I like about games that are this rules light is if you want to graft stuff onto them, it's very very easy to do so. Like for instance, my friend and I grafted fate points onto this game, and it worked. It worked great. Had a great time with it. Again, that's kind of the virtue of rules light games. This magic system, though, is in my opinion, very elegant, very usable, and I applaud Mr. Stutter for coming up with it. Uh, you know, it's a very, in my opinion, a very successful foray into game design. So anyway, you can pick this up on RPG Now. The PDF is like something to the effect of $3.50, I think. Again, the print on Lulu is something like $8. Um, that's about it as far as this book goes. He's got there's other books in this series that I believe run on the same system. I'm very curious about. He's got one called Black Death that is continental Europe in the 1600s, 15 or 1600s, and that book is double. Actually, it's 92 pages, and it's still in this mini game format. And I recently bought it on Lulu, and I paid like $9 for it. It hasn't arrived yet, so I can't really tell you about it. But I'm anticipating that, because I was just this hits a lot of sweet spots for me. Um, and then the other advantage, of course, is if you've got a very low-priced game, um, like something like this, or Fate Accelerated, something like that. There's nothing that really prevents everybody involved, all the players at the table and so forth, having a copy of the book, and I like that because I'm of the opinion that if you're going to game master a game, particularly with people who are not hobbyists, people who do not play RPGs typically, you ought to provide them with the materials. I like to provide my players with materials like copies of the books and so on and so forth. As a consequence, I tend to use systems that are either free or are low cost, or systems that I happen to have just over the years collected many copies of the books. So anyway, there you have it. You might notice I'm changing the title of these reviews from low budget to low tech. Someone in the comments on one of the earlier reviews made that suggestion. I think it's a good suggestion, and I appreciate again all the feedback that I'm getting on these reviews. Just as a side note, I think there are 3 more days of free shipping at Lulu, so if you're looking to pick up some prints of your favorite RPGs through Lulu, you can get free ground shipping. I think it's the next 3 days, I think, and it's APR ship, all cap, 50, I believe, is the code on that. And this is good timing for some of you because James Spann, his Retroclode Hero's Journey, just just went to print. Just went to print via Lulu. It's $29 for the black and white hardcover, and something like $39 for the. Actually, I don't think that's right. It's a little bit more for the color hardcover. Again, if you don't already have Fantastic Heroes of Swords and Witchery, and so or Blood and Treasure, something like that, James Spann's book is a nice kind of catch-all for RetroClone. Anyway, I don't know how I got off onto that topic because I don't have a copy of Hero's Journey in front of me. But anyway, and besides, that's gotten a lot of buzz online, so you're probably already familiar with it. One last thing is, in the next couple days, I'll start reviewing Ken St. Andre's latest print releases, which are the magic booklets for the Kindreds of Tunnels and Trolls. I received those in the mail yesterday, so I'll begin to look through those, so be on the lookout for those. We are hitting 22 minutes of my rambling on just about, so I'm gonna let you go. Again, this is Kurt Meyer. I appreciate all the comments, all of the feedback. Please keep it coming. If there's a game that you are interested in and you'd like to see a video review of, let me know, because I may have it. Chances are I would either have it in print or PDF. I don't know I know there's a way to do it. I don't know technologically how to go about it, but I know there's a way that one can actually film one's screen, computer screen, and then speak over it. If I can figure that out, if anybody knows how to do that, drop me a line in the comments section. Put a link to somewhere, because if I can figure out how to do that, then I can review PDFs as well, and that opens up a whole big plethora, cornucopia of possibilities for games that I could talk about. Okay, thanks a lot. This is Kurt Meyer. Bye-bye.